everybody, it's Scott Hendrickson with MindPlace, and here we are in a continuing series of videos on using SpectraStrobe in Workstation for the MindPlace Kasina. And what we're going to look at in this video, this is going to be one of the more important ones in the series. We've been building up to this point on how to use a master color channel to control subcolor channels to try to get color mixing, and then we've also used a screen flashing track to showcase the colors in real time as we play back so we can get a preview. Now I have to say, in this video I have a bit of bad news for you, and that is that all of these beautiful colors that we see along the screen display and within a color wheel are very difficult. A certain range of them are very difficult to reproduce in closed eye use in light and sound glasses. Now that's kind of a shock to many people when they very first attempt to create sessions or mimic professionally produced sessions that they've seen on the machines themselves. They run into a wall that says, well, wait a minute, how do they get all those colors? How can I reproduce this range of colors that I see when I'm using a closed eye session? Well, in an open eye presentation, the color mixing is theoretically correct. This balance among colors is correct, and that's the actual output of the light. But there is a phenomenon of the human eye, and let's look at quickly a program that I use personally and we may release, that is a color wheel, and there's a phenomena of the human eye where it has a red filtering effect. So I'm allowing for that in this color wheel. Now, of all these beautiful colors that you see along this wheel, especially in the range of these aqua colors, the cyan, or in the purples, especially in some of the magenta type colors, these are very, very difficult to reproduce in closed eyes, and you can see that if you apply this red filter, you're going to get a better representation of what you actually do see in closed eyes. So a strong emphasis on reds, and that's just the effect of blood flowing through the human eyelid. Now, there was a study that was done in the 90s. Let's take a quick look at that in biological psychiatry. This was pointed out to me by Marissa on the forum, and it's been very useful. But anyway, this study was done by Katsuisha Ando and Daniel Kripke, and they found that the estimated light transmission through eyelids was 0.3% for blue, 0.3% for green, and 5.6% for red light. So you could see that there's around an 18 times difference, more than that, between the blue and the red. The red's transmitting 5.6% of the initial luminosity, and the green and the blue, they're matching here. Now, I found in actual use, at least in these LED systems and my particular physiology of my eyelids, which probably varies somewhat across the population, I find that the green transmits a little bit stronger than the blue. Now, in the Kasina glasses, we have allowed for a better color mixture by the configuration of LEDs that we've used. So we have a 1 to 2 to 3 balance, meaning that we have one red LED and we have 2 green LEDs and 3 blue per eye in the Kasina. So that's a 1 to 2 to 3 balance. Now this is showing around an 18 times balance, so you can only imagine how many LEDs that would actually mean in the basis for trying to lay out a system, and it just wouldn't be applicable to put that many LEDs in, because you're getting an overall too much brightness. But considering this factor, and I have to say this is not scientifically accurate in any measure, because I haven't done extensive tests across a population or what have you, but for myself, this is a good representation, a good working tool that shows me that this is more likely what I am going to expect rather than this. Now, obviously, I'd like to shoot for that, so we're just going to try to mimic it as closely as we can using the tools that are available to us. And I have to tell you that this is experimental. It's a theoretical basis, and I would appreciate feedback from people that just choose to work with this system on their results. And we also see the results on the factory sessions that I've created, which are mainly in the Mind Art category on the Kasina SD card. So let's take a look at what we have to do. Now, again, we've balanced out a master SpectraStrobe track, and we've used that to pick our colors, right? So then we had a set of slave tracks that were linked to these. They were synced with those color tracks to pull across the settings and break them down into the 3 LED colors. Now, you might have wondered, well, why do that? And this video will go a long way to showing at least one of the reasons that you're going to do that. Alright, so what we're going to want to do is we want to try to change the color balance. We want to try to present a more accurate representation of what the colors are going to play back like that we see in this main display, which is linked to the master track. We want to try to get as close as we can to that within closed eye LED glasses. Alright, so basing upon that ratio that I showed you in the previous study and some of my experiential practical findings, we have two options. We can adjust the brightness of each LED in these slave tracks, which I have found doesn't work quite as well, or we can actually adjust the brightness of each one of the color channels as it pertains to the color mix itself. Now, I have found that that gets us a lot closer. So what we want to do then is we want to go ahead and sync our block and make the adjustment within this ratio. Now, again, practically and experientially, I have found that a ratio of red of 1 to 10, 10% of the red brightness is going to allow the other colors to blend better with the red. So what I do here is I go to 25.5. Could just do 25. The the fractional value probably doesn't matter as much. So 10% of that, of 255, will drop us down here in the red color selection. Alright, it's linked with this block, so we're getting the overall shape, but we've reduced it down, the brightness of that, by 10%. And then in the green, I found that you're going to want to go down a third. Okay, so I go down to 85. Actually down a third. 2/3. In this case, 2/3. So 2/3 of that 255 value is going to give me the 85. Alright, so place the green at 85, the blue at around 25, 25.5, and then leave the blue as it is, the blue at 100%. Now, you could see that that's really significantly changed the balance of the LEDs. So if I'm only using 10% of the red and I only have one red LED in the glasses, then that would be, and I have 2 green and 3 blue, that would be as if I was using 1 red to 20 green to 30 blue, just with changing that red balance setting. Now, since I'm using a third of the green, then I can take those 20 green and divide that by 3 and get around 7. So if we did 1 red, 7-ish green, and 30 blue, then we would have around our balance. But as you can see, that's completely impractical to do within a set of LED glasses, because just the amount of brightness and the power and all of that would need to drive those LEDs is pretty beyond reach. And you can only imagine the size of the glasses too. So luckily we're able to do this in software. Alright, now having that balance, we are still able to use the master SpectraStrobe track to set our colors and pick a color, and then still use the screen preview to see approximately what the color is going to be, but have the proper balance, or at least a idealized balance, within the slave channels. So in part 2 of this video, we'll make one additional adjustment to the slave tracks to properly balance our LEDs, so I'll see you there.